Thank you so much for having me, because I really love this library and all libraries, and as you know, I really did spend a great deal of time in libraries when I first started my business. I had a high school education, and I had not really worked. I'd done some waitressing work. And I went to Catholic Charities. They had Jim Gleason there, who was incredibly supportive. And Myrna Young was with Every Woman Opportunity Center. She was the director. And Jim Gleason said, you really have to focus. You have to figure out what you want to do. And I was thinking, well, I could garden, maybe not in Buffalo all year long, you know, that sort of thing. Well, I could cook, but I didn't really know how. Anyway, I decided to come over to the library. I didn't know my way around a library. Nobody ever taught me that when I was growing up. And the librarians all showed me how to use a library, where the dictionaries were. One librarian said, you know, you can learn one word a year. And I have practiced one word a year or a month since that time. So I got a lot of attention from the librarians. They were very supportive. Well, the catering business was very successful here, and then I decided to go to UB and get an education where, again, I had a lot of mentors, people who helped me, Judy Moses and Bill Baumer, who was the head of the philosophy department there. I realized that if I stayed in the catering business, it would be physically very hard as I grew older, but my true talents were in marketing and public relations and that sort of thing. So I studied philosophy and discovered that I had a voice, and I ended up moving down to DC and getting into sort of a bigger pond, and now I do public relations and marketing with clients that are pretty much in the AE, architecture and engineering industry. Well, when you read a business book, you tend to just read it once and then you put it on a shelf. And what I thought, because I use examples with my clients of different things that happened in my catering business, that it would be fun to have a cookbook with business advice. So I set it up that way because I thought if somebody puts a book up on their shelf for cooking, they take it down more often. With a business book, you tend to read it once, maybe twice, but not every time you're making a chocolate pie. For me, there's no question, it's integrity. It's a word that I use all the time because it has such a broad scope. It doesn't just mean ethics. It means working harder, working longer, being on time, doing a better job than what's expected of you. It just has such a broad, if you do all of those things, you can't help but be successful. Well, I have one story, which is the brownie story. One day, it's an example that I use with my clients on how to. And one day I was sitting in my kitchen and I looked out and there was a woman taking a knife and she was putting holes in this aluminum pan, and I hung up the phone. And I went out and I said, you know, Judy, what are you doing? And she said, well, this is the secret to your killer brownie recipe, isn't it? And I said, no, I was kind of figuring it out. And I realized that I hadn't directly taught her. And what happened was I had been reusing these pans, and little tiny holes had begun to come. And if they got up too many holes, then I would just throw that pan out. But people had assumed that those holes were in there because I put them in on purpose. And I use that story to help people understand why you have to have how-tos in your business. And when somebody's either fired or they quit, then that saves you a lot of money if you're actually writing down the process. Well, like the library, I also like to support independent bookstores, like Talking Leaves here. I'll be doing a book signing here. And also on my website, where you can get a copy that's signed, and you can also get it on Amazon and other bookstores around. Thank you so much for having me. And again, I just really appreciate all the classes that you all teach here, the support you give to small entrepreneurs like myself, the available resources that you have here to me. You know, almost, I don't know, 99% of the businesses that are started today are small entrepreneurs, one person like myself, and libraries do so much to support us, so thank you for having me.